What's up, everybody? It's your boy J Heat 414 coming at you with another sports talk media session. Wanted to talk about the great point guard, as they call him, CP3, also known as Christopher Emmanuel Paul. First of all, shout out to John Patton and Marlene Patton, two of my close friends. Marlene, I'm about to give some props and go in a little bit on your cousin, so bear with me. That being said, wanted to say hello to everybody out there. Hopefully everybody's having a good time, having a good Saturday. CP3 is a legend. The point guard comments that they say about him is not to be taken lightly. If you were to, in the dictionary, have a picture of the quintessential point guard in the dictionary, if the picture showed Chris Paul, then it would be legit. The man is a floor general like none other. At 6 feet, he controls the pace of the game. He controls and dictates what's happening out there. And he's a leader. He's a pit bull on the court, heart like a lion, even though he's a little guy from NBA standards. He's out there doing his thing. That being said, because he's so great, got to hold him to the standard of the greats. And there's a lot of talk going out there about him being a top 5 point guard of all time. Some people say top 10, top 5. I'm not sure if I can put him in either one. And that's not because Chris Paul isn't a legend and isn't great. And he's a future Hall of Famer, first ballot, no question. He plays both ends of the floor. He's not just a passer. He can score a little bit. And he uses that heart to get those buckets as much as possible, and his intellect, one of the most smart people on the floor, not highest, but one of the highest basketball IQs out there and in the history of the game, would make an excellent coach someday. But because of his greatness, again, Chris Paul has come up short from time to time, and sometimes you got to mention his whole career to people so that they understand. And the history of the league in terms of the greatness of the point guards that you've had out there. It's the most skilled position in basketball. The point guard is expected to control the pace of the game, is expected to dictate and know what everybody out there is doing, and not to mention is supposed to be able to shoot, pass, steal, take care of a lot of things. And Chris Paul throughout his career has done a lot of those things, but from his time, if you go back to when he was with the New Orleans, I believe, Hornets at the time, he put them on the map at the time, even though the Charlotte Hornets had been on the map with LJ and Zoe and them back in the day. The New Orleans Hornets, before OKC ended up blending with that franchise, Chris Paul, they played in Oklahoma City for quite a little bit of time, and he made a name for himself there. In 2008, he should have been the MVP of the league, in my opinion. They gave it to Kobe Bryant, I know, the legend, the Black Mamba. Kobe deserved it in 2005, probably 2006. You can maybe even argue 2007, but by 2008, they had missed the boat. The media I'm talking about, who votes for this sort of stuff. And out of sympathy, because Kobe had the best record in the league along with the Hornets at the time that Chris Paul was running, they gave it to him. If you look at the numbers, you could argue from just the individual perspective, maybe it was LeBron James that year. But they weren't ready to give LeBron James his first MVP yet. And Chris Paul, who deserved it if you looked at his play and what he was doing with the team he had around him, Tyson Chandler, I think, might have been the best player on his team at the time. He deserved it for what he was doing out there for the Hornets. However, Kobe hadn't gotten one, so Kobe got it. But that was a highlight of Chris Paul's career. One of his highlights. He's had many. But from there, you got to remember, he went to the Clippers. And at the time, that was seen as the Clippers are like, a team you didn't expect to do much of anything. But yet, when they got Chris Paul and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, and you formed Lob City, you thought that this was about to be something that was going to turn things around and bring some pride to the Clippers as they competed with the Los Angeles Lakers. But Chris Paul in his time there as their leader, even though Blake Griffin was a human highlight film like Dominique Wilkins, and DeAndre Jordan had to make sure he never hit his head on the rim when he was going for oops. Chris Paul was still the leader. He was still the man on the team. And the truth is, they never got it done. First round and second round exits like clockwork. And you got to hold him accountable just like we hold everybody else accountable. A point guard I would compare him to in terms of his skill and the way he plays, John Stockton. Complete floor general, not a big scorer on the court. John Stockton led his team to a championship along with Karl Malone, but like I said, Chris Paul had Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan and didn't even get to the conference finals. So there's a knock there. When that wasn't working for Chris Paul, him as the leader, he decided to go somewhere where he wasn't the leader and try to help James Harden in Houston. When he got to James Harden in Houston, they did well, as everybody remembers. Got to Game 7 with the Golden State Warriors, but they lost. Why? Chris Paul being out had a huge amount to do with that. Now, I think the Warriors may have lifted their game and played well enough in Game 7 to get it done, but who knows? And based on the amount of threes that Harden and company missed that night trying to get the W against maybe one of the greatest teams of all time, having Chris Paul would have helped, but he wasn't there because he was injured. And injuries have been an issue throughout his career. He's had times where he's let his team down from a standpoint of not being ready and available when the time mattered most. And that was another time. And then from there he went to Oklahoma City because things fell out with him and James Harden. And in Oklahoma City was more of a rebirth because he needed to show that he was still who he was, and people that was getting on him for the injury in the Game 7 loss to Golden State and his fallout with James Harden, he showed up and put Oklahoma City in a good position. They were kind of overachieving to some people's thoughts. However, they went up against Houston, and had I not mistaken, a lot of people thought that they might give Houston some go, and they lost. And Chris Paul went out in the first round. Truth of the matter is, other than when he wasn't the number one player on the team, he's been bounced out first or second round for his entire career. And remember, he was drafted in 2005, came into the league years before Steph Curry, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose, Kyrie Irving, Damian Lillard. All these people that from a skill standpoint look at their total game, not their floor generalship, ability to set plays up, everything. Their ability to pass and set guys up, ability to score, ability to win, ability to lead. Chris Paul has fallen short of some of these guys, even though you always will take him on your team because he's a dog. But the truth is, he needs some help. He needs somebody with him who's better than him, somebody who can lead. Maybe that's Booker now over in Phoenix, because Phoenix right now is doing their thing. And I made this video because I wanted to give Chris Paul some props. To me, it's the first time in his career where him as the leader, even though Booker can score more points than him, Chris Paul's the leader of this team, and he's in position now to get to his first conference finals as the leader of a team, which is what a point guard is. So when I say that Chris Paul's got more to do to get into the top 10 all-time point guards, it's because I need to see him lead his team to that level, because that's what he is, a leader. I need him to get to these conference finals. And quite frankly, based on the fact that LeBron James is out of the West right now, it'd be cool to see him make it to the finals. There's no Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant or just the Warriors. There's no LeBron James. It's just the Clippers and people, you know what they say about Pandemic Pete. So Chris Paul's opportunity is here in front of him as the 2 seed. And for him being the veteran that he is, even with Utah being the 1 seed, he's more of a vet than anybody on Utah. It's time for him to show he can get to the championship. Win or lose, get there. In the conference finals, big up to the boy. I appreciate it, seeing it as a fan of the game, as a student of the game, and I hope he does well. But top 10, that's tough. Think he still got more to do. What y'all think out there? Let me know. JHeat414. Catch me on YouTube and Instagram, as well as at the Vault JMU414 on Twitter. Love talking about sports. As I tell y'all all the time, this is just a hobby, and I will continue doing it. But I appreciate the subscribers and people who are listening in. And I look forward to talking to y'all again. This one was a little longer than I wanted, but Chris Paul deserved it. Holla at your boy.